Hello, I'm Nigel, and in this tutorial I'll show you how to set up a low-resolution project in Godot 4.3. This kind of setup is very useful when you want to make pixel art games with retro aesthetics, which is one very common style choice when starting making games given the simplicity of pixel art. In order to follow this tutorial, it is expected that you know some basic mechanics of Godot, like creating a project. Well, to start with, I've created a new project named Pixel Art Project. Now, by default, when you create a new project, pixel art textures won't render in a very pleasant way. To demonstrate that, I've created a scene that has a sprite of 16 by 16 pixels of size. As you can see, when you create a sprite, it will most likely appear small in comparison to the game window. Since pixel art is generally made with a small resolution and monitors nowadays have a pretty big resolution. To solve that, let's manually scale up the sprite. Well, now it appears big, but also it appears blurry. That happens because its texture filter is set to inherit the texture filter set in the project settings, which is initially set to linear. The linear filter is indicated for larger resolution images, and since pixel art has such a small resolution, its texture filter should be set to nearest. Now, we can see the pixel art looks crispy as it should. That's nice and all, but using this setting, we'd have to repeat these steps for every sprite. But since we're dealing with a pixel art game, it wouldn't be that convenient. There's a better approach to this, so that we don't have to repeat those steps every time. In order to achieve it, we have to go to the project settings. There, in the path Rendering, Textures, Canvas Textures, Default Texture Filter, we can find those same texture filters. Let's set this option to nearest. Now, we don't have to manually set every sprite's texture filter, since this setting is applied to every one of them. One thing that's also a common issue when making pixel art games is that, like I showed previously, the sprites will appear small and then we'd have to scale them up. It would be a pretty tedious process having to apply this setting to every sprite. Thankfully, Godot has some project settings that solve that problem. In the project settings, go to the path Display, Window, Size. There, set the viewport width and viewport height to a smaller value. I recommend setting it with values that match the aspect ratio 1:16, since that's used in most monitors. In my case, I'll set it to 256 by 144. That means the window width will fit 16 tiles of width 16 and the height will fit 9 tiles of height 16. After setting that up, let's reset the sprite scale to its original value. With these settings done, if we run the game, we'll see that now the entire game window is very small, which is definitely not what we want. To solve that, we have to go to the same Display Window Size path in the project settings and set the window width override and window height override properties. If you don't see them in your project, make sure to turn on the advanced settings. These properties represent what's the size that the game window should have after being scaled. To get better results, those should be set to values that are integer multiples of the viewport width and viewport height properties. For example, if your viewport width and viewport height are set to 256 by 144, you could set the overrides to 512 by 288, 768 by 432, 1024 by 576, or 1280 by 720, and so on. In my case, I'll choose 1280 by 720, which is equivalent to the 720p resolution. Now, if we run our game, we'll see that the window is indeed larger, but the sprites are still small. To solve that, we need to update our game's stretch mode in the project settings. To find that option, follow the path Display, Window, Stretch, Mode. There, set its value to canvas items or viewport. Both of these options are often used for pixel art games, but the viewport option is more recommended for this type of game. With this new property set, the game will now scale itself based on its viewport size, which will make it so all of its sprites and image assets are displayed bigger now. That's it about how to set up a low resolution project in Godot 4.3. If you have any questions, tips or suggestions, feel free to let them in the comments. Also, I'm leaving some useful links in the description about further materials to read or watch that expand about some topics mentioned. In the description, there's also gonna be available a link to a repository with the setup made in the video and a written explanation of the steps applied. Hope this video could help you. Thanks for watching, bye!